Nightline begins now with me, Sabrina Zainal. News making the headlines. Development of Kampung Baru must prioritize Malay interests, says the Sultan of Selangor. And 2026 budget to bring good news for civil servants and Malaysians. Good morning. We begin with this story. Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah Al-Hajj has reminded all parties that Kampung Baru holds deep historical and cultural significance for the Malay community and must be safeguarded even as redevelopment moves forward. Tracing its roots back to 1899, His Royal Highness noted that Kampung Baru was officially recognized as a Malay agricultural settlement in 1900 by the 5th Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sir Alidin Sulaiman Shah. Since then, the enclave has been a cornerstone of Malay identity in Kuala Lumpur. The Selangor ruler, in a statement, said while he has no objections to the redevelopment of the Kampung Baru area, it has to be handled carefully and prudently, with the conditions for redevelopment to be made clear and in favor of the Malays. Sultan Sharifuddin stressed that Kampung Baru has been a symbol of Malay awakening since 1900, and the original history and heritage of the area must be taken into account in any consideration made by parties involved. The Selangor Sultan also highlighted Kampung Baru's role in shaping the nation's history, from the 1946 Malay Congress at Sultan Sulaiman Club that led to the formation of UMNO, to its function as a refuge during the May 13, 1969 incident. He also recalled personal ties, having once lived and attended school in Kampung Baru in his youth, while noting that the area was once home to the official residences of the Menteri Besar and State Secretary of Selangor, before Kuala Lumpur was handed over to the federal government. While acknowledging the need to modernize, Sultan Sharifuddin urged that redevelopment plans must be handled wisely, with Malay rights and heritage placed at the forefront. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has welcomed the statement by Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah on the historical significance, future development and direction of Kampung Baru. The Prime Minister, in a Facebook post, said the Sultan of Selangor's views are fully aligned with the Madani government's commitment to preserving national heritage while ensuring fair and balanced development. Anwar also stressed that as chairman of the National Affordable Housing Council, he remains committed to ensuring that every development genuinely benefits the people without compromising their dignity, rights and history. Malaysians can expect positive news ahead of the 2026 budget set to be tabled in October. Chief Secretary to the government Tan Sri Syamsul Azri Abu Bakar said the government is committed to ensuring that the initiatives benefit everyone.
Belanja awam mesti ada berita baik. Tapi rahsialah tak boleh. Tapi yakin bahawa memang ada berita baik.
Tak mengecewakan, ya?
Tidak mengecewakan.
Berita baik untuk penjawat awam.
Penjawat awam rakyat Malaysia, kerajaan madani, kerajaan yang baik dan prihatin kepada rakyat.
He said this to reporters after officiating the 4th National Research Conference on Governance, Integrity and Anti-Corruption in Sepang, Selangor on Thursday. Speaking on another matter, Syamsul Azri said he will present a study on the artificial intelligence productivity paradox to the Cabinet next month to ensure that its costs are justified.
Kita kena pastikan siap perbelanjaan yang kita buat untuk AI digitalization ni benar-benar memberi produktiviti yang tinggi dan output yang terbaik untuk kerajaan.
The study is currently being refined by the Malaysia Productivity Corporation, the National Institute of Public Administration and the Digital Ministry. Now, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has positioned Malaysia's recent Parliamentary Services Act as a landmark reform and urged ASEAN legislatures to adopt stronger mechanisms for accountability. The Prime Minister said the act marked a radical shift, making Parliament institutionally independent from the executive arm. Speaking at the 46th ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Assembly, or IPA, on Thursday, Anwar said the introduction of the Parliamentary Services Act is an outstanding achievement, under which the institution of Parliament becomes completely independent of governmental management. He stressed that democracy should not be confined to periodic elections, but must also provide space for governments to be questioned, criticized, and assessed by the public. Parliamentarians, he said, must uphold their oath of office, honor the Constitution, and serve the interests of citizens instead of exploiting privilege.
In ASEAN and beyond, not only the government, but parliamentarians are now being questioned whether they use their influence and power to strengthen their position or enhance their position, or for that matter, benefit from their privilege, or they actually serve the interests of their citizens.
Anwar also urged ASEAN countries not to compromise on good governance and to hold leaders accountable to prevent systemic corruption from becoming entrenched. In other news, the flood situation in Sabah has improved. As of 8 p.m. Thursday, the number of evacuees had dropped to 2,581 individuals, down from 3,188 recorded at 4 p.m. According to the National Disaster Management Agency, or NADMA, 6 districts are still affected by the floods. Membakut records the highest number of evacuees with 1,014, followed by 601 individuals in Penampang, while 342 are still in 3 PPS in Sipitang. 350 evacuees are being sheltered in 2 relief centers in Papar and Putatan, and 185 individuals in Penampang and Papar are placed in 4 PPS due to landslides. Tunku Amir Shah Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah on Thursday visited Balai Berita, the headquarters of Media Prima Berhad. The Raja Muda of Selangor was given a first-hand look at the operations of the country's leading integrated media group. Tunku Amir Shah was welcomed upon arrival by Media Prima Group Chairman Datuk Sri Dr. Syed Hussein Al-Junid, Group Managing Director Datuk Rafiq Razali, Media Prima Omnia Chief Operating Officer Datuk Muhammad Effendi Omar, News and Current Affairs Group Managing Editor Jasban Singh, and TV Network's News and Current Affairs Group Editor Azhari Muhyiddin. During the 3-hour visit, Tunku Amir Shah was briefed on Media Prima's television, print, digital, and radio platforms operations. He also toured TV3's broadcast studio, where he joined Nightline's anchor Azaria Tagaya in presenting the news.
Sultan of Selangor, Sharafuddin Idris Shah, has reminded Malaysians to exercise their freedom of speech responsibly and within the boundaries of the law. The ruler, while freedom of speech is guaranteed under the federal constitution, it must not be misused to spread messages that could divide society and tarnish the dignity of others.
The Crown Prince also visited the Rev Media Group office and Media Prima Audio, home to Hot FM, Cool 101, Mole FM, Fly FM, and 8 FM. At the end of his tour, Syed Hussein presented Tunku Amir Shah with a framed copy of the front page of the NST's December 12, 1990 edition, the date of his birthday.
Antara perbincangan yang kita buat pada hari ini adalah bagaimana Media Prima boleh bekerjasama dengan kerajaan di Selangor, khususnya belia-belia Selangor, dalam mengutarakan program-program yang memberi manfaat kepada masyarakat.
Kita ingin explore ataupun look into collaboration areas bersama Media Prima. Jadi kita di Selangor Community kita ada jalankan pelbagai inisiatif untuk membantu belia, bukan sahaja di Selangor tapi di seluruh Malaysia lah.
The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission is now scrutinizing the financial records of family members and close associates of those arrested in connection with the counter-setting scandal as part of efforts to unravel the full money trail behind the alleged racket. MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azambaki said investigations will extend to anyone linked to the suspects.
Whoever associated to them, we will investigate. You know, in some of them, when they give reason as to how they obtain the money, it relates to some other people. As for now, we call them as a witness.
He was speaking to the media after attending the 4th National Conference on Governance, Integrity and Anti-Corruption Research in Sepang on Thursday. Azam added that MACC will also look into how those arrested managed to buy luxury cars, run businesses, and amass large sums of cash. He also confirmed that the graft buster has widened the investigation under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001. On September 10th, the MACC arrested 27 individuals, including 18 enforcement agency officers, for their suspected involvement in a counter-setting syndicate which facilitates the entry of foreigners into the country without following prescribed procedures. Meanwhile, the inquest into the death of Zara Khairina Mahathir was told on Thursday that 2 students implicated in the case had not been involved. The chief warden of Zara School dormitory testified that no report had been lodged on an alleged bullying incident involving a student referred to as KM. The warden, 31-year-old Azhari Abdul Sagap, told the coroner's court that the school had investigated the alleged incident mentioned in a 44-second audio recording between Zara and her mother. He added that neither Zara nor her mother provided any information about the matter before the audio clip went viral. Azhari, who is the 8th witness, explained that Zara and her friend had teased a Form 2 student who is the younger sister to KM. The student later confronted Zara and her friend when KM, who was said to be in an emotionally unstable state after finding her room dirty, passed by and asked what had happened. This encounter then led to the incident captured in the audio recording, in which Zara complained that she had been threatened. Azhari further testified that another student, known as Tomboy, whose name had circulated on social media for allegedly harassing Zara, was not present during the July 16th incident, as she was attending a program in Perlis with other students. The Shah Alam High Court has granted an interim order barring Defence Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Khalid Nordin from commenting on the death of a University Technology Malaysia Reserve Officers Training Unit, or Pelapis cadet, pending investigations. The order was obtained by the deceased cadet's mother, Umu Haiman B. Daulat Gun, on Thursday. Umu Haiman's lawyer, Datuk Naran Singh, said a court order also prohibits the Defence Ministry from issuing any statements until the case is resolved. Umu Haiman sought the order as she disputed Khalid's remarks that no injuries were found on her son's body, as she believes he may have been assaulted. The order remains in effect until September 26th, pending a letter of undertaking from Khalid that neither he nor the ministry will release any further statements. 22-year-old Shamsul Haris Shamsuddin died on July 28th while undergoing training at the Army Combat Training Centre in Ulu Tiram, Johor. On August 29th, his body was exhumed for a second post-mortem at the National Institute of Forensic Medicine, Kuala Lumpur Hospital, before being reburied the following day. Malaysia continues to solidify its position as a global leader in the halal economy after recording 33 billion ringgit in halal exports in the first half of 2025. The demand was mainly driven by food and beverages, halal ingredients and palm oil derivatives, which were mainly exported to markets such as China, Singapore, the United States, Japan and Indonesia. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the achievement is driven by the development of the country's halal ecosystem since the 1970s, including global standards and recognition in areas such as pharmaceuticals. He added the industry's focus is now on exploring new areas such as fintech, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and green energy, as well as new markets in Africa and Latin America. Malaysia is expected to achieve its 2025 fiscal deficit target of 3.8% of its gross domestic product. The deficit has narrowed to 3.7% as of July, supported by strong revenue collection and subsidy rationalization, while tax revenues rose 12.6% year-on-year in the first quarter, outpacing nominal GDP growth of 3.4% during the same period. According to OCBC, the increase was supported mainly by corporate revenues as well as sales and services tax, which were the largest contributors to the overall revenue growth. Although non-tax revenue declined, the overall collection outlook remains positive, with Petronas's dividends expected to reach 32 billion ringgit. This development is expected to continue, supporting the government's efforts to balance its fiscal position while accommodating spending priorities. Now, the U.S. Federal Reserve cut its benchmark interest rate on Wednesday by a 0.25 percentage point, the first reduction since last year. The Fed lowered the rate to a range of 4 to 4.25% and signaled 2 more cuts later this year. Policymakers had paused the easing cycle in January amid uncertainty over the impact of President Donald Trump's import tariffs on inflation and growth. The Fed said the latest move was warranted as risks to employment have risen, even as inflation remains somewhat elevated, still just above its 2% target. Recent data shows hiring has stalled and unemployment has ticked up. Lowering rates reduces borrowing costs, a key tool central banks use to stimulate spending and support job creation.
Small businesses power Malaysia's economy, but the rhythm is changing. Digital shifts, rising costs, and sustainability pressures are reshaping the SME landscape. The challenge now isn't survival, it's evolution. Muhammad Ahmad Hamdan speaks with SME Association of Malaysia President Dr. Chin Chi Siong, only on Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and stream on Tonton.
Two imported vehicles worth over 8 million ringgit seized. More news on the local front after this breather.
Susah buat pilihan. Boleh tolong saya?
Unlocking the future of business.
From industry evolutions to policy changes, we go beyond the headline.
Deep insights, sharp analysis.
Understanding the forces driving tomorrow's economy.
Key financial insights that drive decisions.
This is Money Matters, every Saturday, 5 p.m.
Only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton.
Aku nak umumkan bonus gaji sebulan untuk anda semua.
IC, untuk register.
IC pula. 10,000. Cik ambil ni lah, Cik. Bawa belanja. Saya tengok Cik sedih sangat. Ambil ya.
Nak kena ada orang ni.
Boleh saya bantu? Jumaat dan Sabtu 9 malam. Di Lestari TV3 dan stream 24 jam lebih awal ditonton.
Rimba penuh misteri.
Bashir Khan, main suspect behind tiger poaching.
Dan maut sedang menanti. Tiada siapa yang selamat dari...
Kau tu, Khalid Pratap Singh.
Kau, Sabtu ini 10 malam.
Kahani adhuri thi sahab.
Surga itu jatuh!
TV3 Blockbuster dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Thanks for staying with us. A bird strike has been confirmed as the cause of last month's crash involving a Royal Malaysian Air Force FA-18D Hornet fighter jet, in which 2 personnel were injured. RMAF Chief General Datuk Seri Muhammad Nur Azlan Aris said a preliminary report found that the crash occurred after the aircraft's left engine failed when a bird was ingested during takeoff.
Kalau ikut penemuan asal dia jenis green heron. Green heron. Burung yang macam burung bangau. Yang besar, agak besar. Dan dia dikatakan burung ni boleh mencapai berat sehingga 1.5 kilo seekor. Jadi dengan bebanan yang besar tu, saiz besar tu masuk ke dalam enjin, boleh menyebabkan kegagalan pada enjin tersebut.
He added that the aircraft struck the bird shortly after takeoff at an altitude of about 10 meters. A bird's carcass was also found in the plane's engine. The investigation was supported by CCTV analysis, data from the deployable flight incident recorder system, technical assessments and reports from various agencies. The Kuala Lumpur Customs Department has seized 32 imported vehicles worth over 8.45 million ringgit for breaching bonded warehouse license conditions. The seizures were made during a special operation dubbed Op Purple between July 29th and August 7th. Kuala Lumpur Customs Director Wan Nurizan Wan Daud said the cars were discovered following raids on a warehouse in Stapa and another in Sungai Penchala in Damansara. Officers found that the imported vehicles had been stored for more than 48 months, exceeding the maximum period allowed under warehouse license conditions. The syndicate's modus operandi includes abusing duty exemptions to store vehicles in warehouses without paying taxes. The vehicles, valued at 3.07 million ringgit, carried an estimated 5.37 million ringgit in unpaid import duties and taxes. The case is being investigated under the Customs Act 1967. Chaos erupts on Thailand-Cambodia border. The details when Nightline returns.
Dekat mana nak tengok filem blockbuster Bollywood yang best-best? TV3 kan ada.
तो और कोई भी अच्छी लड़की मिल सकती है. शादी करूंगा तो उसी से.
Yang romantis, Jan Iman, 13 September.
कौन है तुम? काली प्रताप सिंह.
Yang misteri, Carl, 20 September.
Thank you so much, Wahab.
Yang komedi, Dostana, 27 September. Tak perlu pening-pening, semuanya September ini di TV3 Blockbuster dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Wanita Hari. Cuaca panas dapat makan aiskrim penikmat kan?
Macam-macam lagi menu berais yang menyejukkan.
Malaysia penuh dengan hidangan dan juga budaya yang unik.
Kenali tarian dan masakan dari Sabah Sarawak.
Reunion ni seronok ke tidak sebenarnya?
Ada yang bertemu jodoh, ada yang membawa haluan lain.
Nak cantik tu boleh tapi jangan sampai memudaratkan diri.
Jangan menyesal di kemudian hari.
Antara BFF dan juga pasangan, siapa lebih utama?
Jangan biarkan hidup anda dalam dilema.
Semuanya di WHI TV3.
Dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Wanita Hari ini.
Top 5 Carta Muzik-Muzik 40 minggu ini.
Fazli suka bercuti dekat mana kalau cuti panjang?
Saya tak kisah asalkan sesuai dengan keluarga.
Selain meriah dengan percutian, Malaysia juga saling meraikan perpaduan dan menghormati budaya bangsa antara satu sama lain.
Daya, masa kita kecil dahulu kan cukup berbeza tau dengan sekarang. Jadi kita nak ketahui kaedah terbaik didikan awal kanak-kanak masa kini.
Bercakap mengenai jangka panjang, bagaimana dengan industri kedai runcit untuk masa hadapan? Isnin hingga Jumaat jam 10 pagi.
Stream melalui Tonton juga eksklusif di TV3.
Caca ni talented tau. Tapi kenapa tak jadi artis untuk drama, Tonton?
Bukan tak nak. Cuma tinggi Caca tak cukup. Lepas tu duit tabung dah habis sebab langgan Tonton.
We're back with the foreign front. Dozens of Cambodian civilians were injured on Wednesday when Thai forces used tear gas and rubber bullets during clashes in a disputed border area, the worst violence since cross-border fighting was halted in July. Cambodian media reported that 29 people were hurt in the afternoon confrontation, while Thailand's military said several of its personnel were also injured. According to the Thai military, troops responded after some 200 Cambodian protesters demonstrated against new barricades and wire fences along the border. Cambodia, however, accused Thai soldiers of crossing into its territory and attacking residents defending their homes. The incident marks the first use of tear gas or rubber bullets on the border since July's ceasefire. Meanwhile, for the second day in a row, residents of Gaza City were left without internet or landline services after Zionist attacks damaged major infrastructure routes, deepening the enclave's isolation. The Palestinian Telecommunications Regulatory Authority said networks collapsed in Gaza City and parts of the north after key cables and facilities were hit. Such blackouts, which paralyze hospitals, civil defense teams, and humanitarian aid operations, have become a defining feature of Israel's war on Gaza. The Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor has reported over a dozen complete shutdowns since October 2023, calling them systematic efforts to turn off the lights and hide violations on the ground. Meanwhile, at least 29 Palestinians have been killed since dawn, pushing the death toll to 65,141. Now, the European Commission on Wednesday proposed suspending a trade arrangement worth nearly $6.9 billion in Israeli exports in response to the war in Gaza. The bloc's executive said it would take immediate action by freezing some $23.7 million in support for the Zionist regime.
And I want to be very clear. The aim is not to punish Israel. The aim is to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza.
Under the plan, Brussels would strip Israel of reduced tariffs on exports such as dates and nuts, impacting more than a third of its exports to the bloc. If implemented, Israeli goods would face the same duties as those from countries without a trade agreement with the EU. The move comes amid growing pressure on the 27-nation bloc to respond to Israel's nearly two-year offensive in Gaza. French protesters on Thursday staged a day of nationwide disruption against President Emmanuel Macron's budget policies, with up to 800,000 people expected to join. Strikes shuttered 9 out of 10 pharmacies, a third of teachers walked out, and the Paris metro was severely disrupted, with only 3 automated lines running normally. Police used tear gas to disperse unauthorized demonstrations in Paris and Marseille, while union-led protesters blocked bus depots in Lille. This marks the most widespread union-led action since 2023, when protests failed to stop Macron's pension reform. Anger now centers on a €44 billion cost-saving budget, despite Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu promising to end lifetime privileges for former prime ministers and drop plans to scrap 2 public holidays. With just 18 months left in office, Macron is enduring his worst ever popularity levels.
Tiene la palabra el diputado. Hay un voto afirmativo, 60 negativos. Se comunica, resulta afirmativo. Concerning a critical incident.
On to sports now, badminton and the 2025 China Masters. Malaysia's shuttlers continued their fine run, with 4 out of 9 representatives marching into the quarterfinals on Thursday. Women's doubles aces Perlitan and Pina needed just 26 minutes to wrap a ruthless 21-11, 21-8 win over Americans Jenny Guy, Francesca Corbett. They will next face South Korea's world number 7 pair, Baek Hana and Lee So-hee. In men's doubles, Aaron Chia and So Woo-yik finally broke their duck against England's Ben Lane and Sean Vendy with a gripping 14-21, 21-15, 25-23 victory. They join Go Jae-fei and Nur Izzuddin, who avenged a previous loss to Taiwan's Lee Jae-hui and Yang Po-swan, winning 21-16, 22-20. Mixed doubles duo Chen Tang-ji and To Yi-wei also prevailed, beating Indonesia's Jafar Hidayatullah and Felicia Pasaribu 21-13, 13-21, 21-16 to set up a last 8 clash with Hong Kong's Tang Chun-man and Se Ying-sui. Moving on to football, the UEFA Champions League. Bayern Munich head coach Vincent Kompany was full of praise for his side after their 3-1 win over Chelsea in Wednesday's group opener. Speaking to the media, Kompany said it was an intense match against a strong opponent, but his players rose to the occasion and delivered a clinical performance.
Wir spielen natürlich heute gegen einen ganz guten Gegner und deswegen ist dieser Sieg einfach, es bleibt natürlich ein gutes Gefühl. Und natürlich auch zu Hause, erstes Spiel in Champions League, das war schon wichtig und wir haben das eigentlich über weite Strecke sehr gut gemacht.
The Bavarians sealed a victory through a Harry Kane brace and an own goal from Trevor Chalobah, while Cole Palmer struck a consolation for the Blues. Bayern have now won 22 straight Champions League openers, a run dating back to 2002. And that concludes Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look at Swiss rider Jamie Huze breaking a world record riding a 140-meter rail with a wakeboard on Lake Fellerin in Switzerland on his 113th attempt. With that, I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for watching and stay safe.